Hi everyone, welcome back to DGMC, Diwan-e-Ghalib, Meri Zubani. To all our returning viewers, we are very happy you could join us again. And to the new viewers, we are delighted you discovered the podcast and decided to tune in for the first time. Now, before I get into the episode, viewers, like I informed you in the past episode, we are facing delays in posting our weekend episodes due to various reasons, including the fact that our laptop is needing maintenance and upgrades, which are taking longer than we expected. So, bear with us. Hopefully, this will get fixed soon. Alright, with that out of the way, let's start getting into our episode. So, if you were with me in the previous episode, you know that currently we are going through Ghazal 35 from Diwan-e-Ghalib, Wo Meri Chiin-e-Jabin se Gham-e-Pinhaan Samjhaa. We've already covered 6 couplets. Today we are going to get into the 7th couplet. As always, I'm going to read the couplet first, then do a quick approximate translation, followed by keywords, key concepts, and finally the DGM's impression of the couplet. So, allow me to read to you couplet 7 from Ghazal 35 from Diwan-e-Ghalib. था गुरेज़ां मिज़ाह-ए-यार से दिल ta-dam-e-marg. था गुरेज़ां मिज़ाह-ए-यार से दिल ta-dam-e-marg, Daf-e-Paikan-e-Qazaa इस कदर आसान समझा. Let's do a quick approximate translation. First line. था गुरेज़ां मिज़ाह-ए-यार से दिल ta-dam-e-marg. My heart continued to flee from the beloved's eyelashes till my moment of death. Second line. Daf-e-Paikan-e-Qazaa is Qadar Aasaan समझा. Avoiding the arrowhead of death was understood this easy by me. So, let's start getting into our keywords. Gurezaan. This is probably the first time we are encountering this word at DGMZ. So, Gurezaan is used to describe some kind of evasion, some kind of avoiding, running, fleeing from something, trying to escape something. इस पे जॉन इलिया का शेर, मैं कि रहता हूँ बासद नाज गुरेज़ां तुझसे, तू ना होगा तो बहुत याद करूँगा तुझको. Lovely couplet. The approximate translation is, I, who continue to stay in this fleeing mode, in this running mode from the 100 graceful invitations you send my way, right? Once you are gone, I am going to miss you a lot. Moving on to our next word or word complex, Mizah-e-Yaar, eyelashes of the beloved. इस पे मीर तकी मीर का ये शेर, काव कावे मिज़ाह-ए-यार ओ दिले जार ओ नज़ार, गुद गए ऐसे शिताबी कि छुड़ाया न गया. The approximate translation is, the continuous beating, fluttering eyelashes of the beloved and my weak, feeble heart got entwined so quickly and so quickly and so intricately that then they could never be separated ever again. Moving on to the next word complex, ta-dam-e-marg, moment of death. Literally the breath of death, because dam is also breath. इस पे दाग दहलवी का ये शेर, रहेंगी दमे मर्ग तक ख्वाहिशें, ये नियत कोई आज भर जाएगी. The approximate translation is, these desires will continue to be alive till the moment of death. After all, this greed, this thirst, right, this hunger cannot be satisfied in a day. The next word complex, Daf-e-Paikan-e-Qazaa, pivotal for our couplet today. So let's split it. Daf is avoiding something, preventing something, repelling something, right? Pakan is the head of the arrow, not tir. Pakan is just the arrow head, the pointed, notched arrowhead. And Qazaa is commonly used to describe death, but it can also be used to describe any kind of divine order, destiny, right? इस पे मिर्ज़ा गालिब का शेर, कुछ खटकता था मेरे सीने में लेकिन आखिर जिसको दिल कहते थे सो तीर का पैकन निकला. The approximate translation is there was always something that was festering, that was pricking inside my chest. But finally, this thing that I thought or called a heart was identified to be the arrowhead of an arrow that my heart was struck with. That will take care of all the keywords. Let's start getting into our impression. First line, था गुरेज़ां मिज़ाह-ए-यार से दिल ta-dam-e-marg. My heart continued to flee from the beloved's eyelashes till my moment of death. Tha Gurezaan, that is how Ghalib kickstarts this first line. Tha Gurezaan translates to it was always in flight mode. It was always in fleeing mode, in running mode. Now, in Persian poetry and in Ghazal form, Gurezaan is an adjective that is used to describe a state of escaping, fleeing, avoiding. Contextually, Gurezaan is used to describe the process of escaping or avoiding rather than a permanent state of being gone. The act of avoiding, the act of fleeing is what Gurezaan is, and one should know the nuanced difference between Gurezaan and actually gone. There are a lot of common phrases using Gurezaan that are used in colloquial language, like umre Gurezaan, fleeting life, or the quickly passing days of life. Then there is shabab-e-Gurezaan, which is evasive or fleeting youth. And then Gurezaan hona is to run away, to fly, to avoid, to evade. Ghalib starts the first line with state of lover's heart that has remained permanent and unchanged throughout its entire life. And that state is state of flight, state of escape, state of fleeing, Gurezaan. And what is the thing that the lover's heart keeps fleeing from? Well, it is Mizah-e-Yaar. So, let's get into Mizah-e-Yaar next. Now, it is very unique and interesting how in Urdu poetry, the face of the beloved has inspired multiple varied themes. In Urdu poetry, attached to the face of the beloved, there is a theme that is only dedicated to the physical beauty of her face. Sheikh Ibrahim Zauq का ये शेर, रुखे रोशन से नकाब अपने उलट देखो तुम, मेहर और माह नजरों से यारों की उतर जाएंगे. The approximate translation is just try, beloved, to lift off the veil from your radiant face. I promise you, all this great impression that the sun and the moon has made on people will dwindle, will go away once they look at your face. Then there is another theme which is dedicated to the divine beauty of the beloved's face. So this first one was physical beauty. There is a theme that is dedicated to the divine beauty of the beloved's face. इस पे फिराक गोरखपुरी का ये शेर, जिसकी फुरकत ने पलट दी इश्क की काया फिराक, आज उस ईसा नफस दम सास की बातें करो. The approximate translation is that one whose separation totally flipped the state of love Firak, and the poet is referring to himself. Today, let's talk about the one with the breath of the Messiah, the one that has the beat of life in her. Now, physical beauty, divine beauty, in addition to these two, there is another theme that is dedicated to the ability of the beloved's face to bring down calamity on the lover. Calamity that is of the proportions of Judgment Day itself. इस पर आलम निज़ामी का ये शेर, बागे फिरदौस है सर का तेरे हुस्न रुख का, और तफसीर क़यामत तेरी अंगड़ाई है. The approximate translation is, the Garden of Paradise is just a copy of the countenance of your face, beloved, and the huge explanation, the huge detailing of calamity is just the stretching of your limbs due to sleep, due to laziness, due to drowsiness. When you stretch out, that is the entire explanation of what calamity is, of what Judgment Day is. Now, in addition to these three themes, there is a theme that is dedicated to the beloved's face being that of a hunter or a hunter's snare, trap. इस पे हातिम अली मेहर का ये शेर, मुर्गे दिल उससे किसी तरह नहीं बच सकता, कहीं शहीन शिकारी सी हैं तैयार आंखें. The approximate translation is, this bird of my heart cannot escape her in any possible way, because somewhere, just like a hunting eagle, right? Just like a hunting eagle, her eyes are ready to hunt me. And then the last theme that we will explore today, with reference to the way the beloved's face is described, right, in Urdu poetry, is where her face is a well-resourced artillery, right, where everything in her face is a honed weapon, a weapon that is designed to wound, kill, slay, and at times execute the lover. Be it her hair, her eyes, her eyebrows, her smile, her gaze, everything is designed to be used as a weapon against the lover. इस पे मर्दान अली खां राना का ये शेर, अब्रुए यार दिल का खंजर है, मिज़ाह-ए-यार नोके नश्तर है. The approximate translation is, the eyebrows of the beloved are a dagger for the heart, and the eyelashes of the beloved are the arrowhead of the arrow. And then this last one, इमदाद अली बहर का शेर, आँख भौं उसके इशारों पे रवा होने दो, मिल के अब्रू ओ मिज़ा तीरो कमा होने दो. The approximate translation is, the eyes and the eyebrows at her beck and call, let them proceed. Let the eyebrows and the eyes come together and form the bow and arrow for me. This last theme that focuses on the beloved's face as a fully packed artillery with the most sophisticated weapons to wound and kill the lover is the exact theme that plays in our couplet today. The lover is well aware of this power, this fatal impact of beloved's face, if he were to ever come face to face with her, gaze at her, lock his eyes with her. नवाब उमराव बहादुर दिलेर का ये शेर, बचना दिलो जिगर का बुतों से मुहाल है, तीरे मिज़हा भी चलते हैं तेगे नज़र के साथ. The approximate translation is, to protect my heart from these idol-like beauties is difficult, impossible, because There are arrows coming from the eyelashes and there are swords coming from the glances. How does one save themselves and their heart from this assault? The lover knows that these eyelashes are well honed, sharply designed arrows that never miss their mark, and their mark is the lover's heart. Ghalib in the first line describes a scene where lover's heart has been fleeing and running away in an effort to avoid these killer eyelashes of the beloved. And that is what is exactly captured in Tha Gurezaan Mizha-e-Yaar se Dil. Moving on to ta-dam-e-marg. Ta-dam-e-marg is beautifully used by Ghalib to put a time frame to this whole act of fleeing done by the lover's heart to avoid beloved's killer eyelashes. Now, in Persian and Urdu poetry, dam-e-marg refers to moment of death or literally breath of death. It frequently appears as the phrase ta-dam-e-marg, which translates to until, the last breath, until death comes. And that's exactly how it's used in our couplet today. It is very important not to confuse ta-dam-e-marg with marg, because ta-dam-e-marg specifically signifies that final, fleeting, critical moment. Marg, however, is just death. अब्दुल गफूर नासाक का ये शेर, ta-dam-e-marg साथ देता है, एक महबूबे बावफा है इश्क. Beautiful, beautiful. The approximate translation is, till that final, critical moment of death, it will stay with you. It will be your companion. A loyal beloved is what love is. Tha Gurezaan Mizha-e-Yaar se Dil ta-dam-e-marg. In this first line, once again, Ghalib details a scene which we don't read about a lot in Urdu poetry. This is a scene where lover's heart has been avoiding facing the arrows from the beloved's eyelashes. Not just once, not just twice, but the lover's heart has been avoiding these arrows all its life, avoiding succumbing to love. In our couplet today, Ghalib captures a rare scenario where the lover's heart wants to and will succeed in avoiding getting impacted, wounded, or killed by the beloved's eyelashes till the last breath of life or till the moment of death. So, that takes care of Tha Gurezaan Mizha-e-Yaar se Dil ta-dam-e-marg. My heart continued to flee from the beloved's eyelashes until my moment of death. Let's move on to the second line. Daf-e-Paikan-e-Qazaa is Qadar Aasaan Samjhaa. Avoiding the arrowhead of death was understood this easy by me. Ghalib has crafted a powerful second line for this couplet that highlights both inevitability and foolishness in trying to avoid inevitability. Daf-e-Paikan-e-Qazaa has been crafted so well by Ghalib and packs a lot in itself. First, let's do the literal analysis of this long word complex. Daf is repelling something, avoiding something, defending oneself against something, warding off something. Paikan is the arrowhead or the tip of the arrow. And Qazaa finally is death, but metaphorically also destiny, fate. Daf-e-Paikan-e-Qazaa refers to warding off fatal arrows of destiny or surviving the sharp, inevitable blow of death. Usage of Paikan instead of Tir is intentional here by Ghalib. Paikan is specifically the piercing point of the arrow, and using it intensifies focus on the sharp moment of impact. The momentary nature is so much better described when Paikan is used instead of Tir. Ghalib uses Daf-e-Paikan-e-Qazaa to put spotlight on our strong human instinct of dreading, fearing, and fleeing from the ultimate and inevitable destined for all of us. The one truth which is universally known by everyone, and yet everyone in their lifetime will try in their own way to escape it, avoid it, flee from it, and postpone it. In the second line, Ghalib describes the unique way the lover's heart has figured out a plan to evade its inevitable destiny. Knowing the life-threatening impact of the beloved's killer eyelashes, the lover's heart has decided to avoid them till its last breath of life or till its moment of death. Daf-e-Paikan-e-Qazaa captures the consistent, continuous effort of the lover's heart to avoid the inevitable arrow point of fate and destiny. Now, moving on to Is Qadar Aasaan Samjhaa. Though Is Qadar Aasaan Samjhaa is not as complex as Daf-e-Paikan-e-Qazaa, it is still crafted equally well by Ghalib. Literally, Is Qadar Aasaan Samjhaa translates to was understood this easy by me. Ghalib in Is Qadar Aasaan Samjhaa captures the folly, the foolishness, the foolhardiness of the lover's heart in believing it would be easy to avoid and escape the inevitable Paikan-e-Qazaa of Mizha-e-Yaar. This foolishness of believing that you can escape the inevitable, destiny or death, is very well captured in a story that is one of our favorites. It's a short story, so allow us to narrate it for you. The story is narrated by Death itself and is part of W. Somerset Maugham's 1933 play Sheppy, and was included as the epigraph to John O'Hara's novel The Appointment in Samara. The speaker in the story is Death. There was a merchant in Baghdad who sent his servant to market to buy provisions, and in a little while the servant came back, white and trembling, and said, "Master, just now when I was in the marketplace, I was jostled by a woman in the crowd. And when I turned, I saw it was Death that had jostled me. She looked at me and made a threatening gesture. Now, lend me your horse, and I will ride away from this city and avoid my fate. I will go to Samara, and there Death will not find me." The merchant lent him his horse, and the servant mounted it, and he dug his spurs in its flanks, and as fast as the horse could gallop, he went. Then the merchant went down to the marketplace, and he saw me standing in the crowd, and came to me and said, "Why did you make a threatening gesture to my servant when you saw him this morning?" That was not a threatening gesture, I said. It was only a start of surprise. I was astonished to see him in Baghdad, for I had an appointment with him tonight in Samarra. It's a beautiful story where death itself is one of the characters, and as you can see, death is surprised to see the servant in Baghdad because death has an appointment with the servant in Samarra. And the servant, in his futile attempt to escape death, will travel from the safety of Baghdad to the fatality of Samarra of his own accord. So that is exactly what Daf-e-Paikan-e-Qazaa is Qadar Aasaan Samjhaa. In our foolishness, we think that avoiding the arrowhead of destiny or death is this easy. That takes care of the second line. Daf-e-Paikan-e-Qazaa is Qadar Aasaan Samjhaa. Avoiding the arrowhead of death was understood this easy by me. Or actually we should say was misunderstood this easy by me. Now, as always, let's take a few minutes to step back and look at the couplet in totality. Once again, Ghalib uses today's couplet to ask critical questions and give deep insights into inevitable truths of destiny and death. Avoiding love, protecting your heart, avoiding hurt, running from pain, fleeing from the end, Ghalib puts a spotlight on all of it. A lover is destined to succumb to love. A human life is destined to succumb to death. No lover can outrun love. No human life can outrun death. That indeed is the eternal, inevitable truth. And yes, Ghalib puts a spotlight on these truths. But this is not the submerged meaning of the iceberg. As you all know, if you've been with DGMZ for long, we call Ghalib's couplets an iceberg. You only see the tip. The mega part of the iceberg is always hidden and submerged. You have to dig it out. In DGMZ's humble opinion, the hidden meaning and advice Ghalib shares with us in this couplet is: number one, a precious human life should not be wasted in trying to outrun death. This precious life should be focused on living every moment of it. Second, lover's precious treasure, his heart, should not try to outrun its destiny of succumbing to love. In fact, the lover's heart should use every living moment to fulfill its destiny to love unconditionally. The effort to flee, to run, to avoid can neither postpone life for even a moment longer or postpone death for even a moment later. This effort to try is a waste, a big, huge waste. Wisdom is knowing the inevitability. Foolishness is denying the inevitability. Now, the one question that comes to mind when we are reading this couplet is, how did this last moment of life, this breath of death, play out finally for the lover and his heart? Dam-e-marg hua kya? Was death delivered to the lover, or was death delivered to the lover's heart? Did death at its appointed time come for the lover, and avoiding the beloved's eyelashes all his life could not save him? Or, as destined and ordained, death arrived for the lover's heart, through that very thing the lover's heart has been running from all its life? beloved's killer eyelashes. The beloved finally, as destined, did appear in front of the lover, and he did finally look into her eyes, and those killer eyelashes sealed the fate of the lover's heart, fulfilling the heart's inevitable destiny. This second option is what passed the DGMC test, where the lover's heart, at the moment of death, Dam-e-Marg, realizes that the very thing he has been running away from all his life has been patiently waiting for him at the right moment to fulfill the inevitable destiny of his heart, which is succumbing to love. In this scenario that passed the DGMZ test, the death is less about the lover actually dying and more about the lover's heart finally succumbing to the beloved and his love for the beloved. मुस्तक हैराबादी का ये शेर, जो इन हसीनों पे मरते हैं जीते जी मुस्तर, वो इंतज़ार पयाम-ए-क़ज़ा नहीं करते. Beautiful couplet. The approximate translation is the ones who willingly die on these beautiful beloveds when they are alive. Mustar, and the poet is referring to himself, those lovers do not wait for the invitation from death to die. They willingly die on these beautiful beloveds. Finally, one needs to acknowledge and appreciate Ghalib's effort to not just deviate from the common established theme in Urdu poetry as far as Daf-e-Paikan goes, but to actually flip it on its head completely. Now, usually in Persian poetry and ghazals, the lover does not want to repel the arrow. And we have covered this in many impressions, right? The lover refuses to avoid the arrow because this refusal shows his devotion to the beloved. Accepting the wound caused by the arrow of the beloved's eyelashes is proof of the love the lover has for her. And in this context, the phrase Daf-e-Paikan suggests there is no shield against destiny of love. Daf-e-Paikan na tawa kard, one cannot repel the arrow. Love is unavoidable, fate cannot be escaped, the lover willingly surrenders, willingly succumbs. Yes, the lover is wounded, yet he is grateful. Yes, he cannot defend himself, nor does he truly wish to. Hafiz का ये शेर, तीरे गमज़े ये साकी से पार निस्त. Against the arrow of the cupbearer's glance, there is no shield. Wagarna Daf-e-Paikan-e-Ishq bar aram. Otherwise, I would ward off its arrowhead. मिर्ज़ा गालिब का ये शेर, दिल से निकला पे ना निकला दिल से, है तेरे तीर का पैकन अजीज. The approximate translation is, though it exited the heart, it did not leave the heart. The arrowhead of your arrow is very dear to my heart. And Sheikh Ibrahim Zauq का शेर, तीरो पैकन दिल में जितने थे दिए हमने निकाल, अपने हाथों घर लुटाना कोई हमसे सीख जाए. The approximate translation is, all the arrows and all the arrowheads that were embedded in my heart, I took them out one by my own hand. How one gives away the riches and treasures of their house by their own hands is something you should learn from me. These were my treasures and I took them out of my heart one by one with my own hands. So this is the common theme of Daf-e-Paikan. But Ghalib goes ahead in today's couplet and paints a scene which is completely opposite to this usual theme. He paints a scene where the lover is running from the arrow. And it's not as if Ghalib is not aware that the fact of the matter is that the lover welcomes these arrows. Lover loves to succumb to the beloved. But Ghalib creates this scenario, in our humble opinion, to drive home the message that yes, you would usually love to give in, to succumb to love, but if in your foolishness you try to avoid it, you try to outrun it, you try to flee from it, you are mistaken. This is going to get you, whether you want it, whether you welcome it, or whether you don't want it, whether you don't welcome it. So the message remains the same, but Ghalib kahe andaz-e-bayan, or he drives home the message with the script totally flipped. And that is Qabil-e-Gaur. That indeed is Qabil-e-Tareef. Alright, so that brings us to the end of the 7th couplet. Tha Gurezaan Mizha-e-Yaar se dil ta-dam-e-marg Daf-e-Paikan-e-Qazaa is Qadar Aasaan Samjhaa. My heart continued to flee from the beloved's eyelashes till my moment of death. Avoiding the arrowhead of death was understood this easy by me. Now, as always, a very strong recommendation to our new viewers to go through the episode titled Introduction to DGMC, because it will give you a good insight into the motivation and inspiration behind this podcast. For our regular viewers, whenever you have time, please surf the homepage of the channel, go through the playlist created, segregated by topics and ghazals, pick an episode that interests you. If you've not joined us on the Facebook page, do join us there. We regularly post the share of the day. Check out the community tab for any news, notifications from us for you, including the share of the day. On the screen, there is a step-by-step guide on how you can access DGMZ episodes in language other than English. Go to your settings, do what is shown on the screen, and YouTube will translate the entire episode for you in the language you have selected and give it to you as subtitles. Now, I'm going to go ahead and end this episode by sending a lot of love and light to all you dear viewers, and thanks for watching.